Hello, this is Solo Droids Podcast, and we are coming at you live right now on YouTube and Facebook and the interwebs.
Hi, interwebs.
Hi, interweb. Yeah. All right. How's it going, guys? We've got Colin, we've got Marley, myself.
Hello.
We didn't do introductions this time. That was really bad.
What
We
a
go
weird-
live, and all of a sudden I've forgotten how to host a show
I mean, it says our names right
on YouTube and Facebook and the
there.
internet. Yeah, I know. People should be able to read, assuming most of our fans can read, I hope.
Assuming.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
can.
So this is most of them, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, we are so excited to be live, and today we are talking about something that's probably very near and dear to most of our hearts, and that is our favorite fandoms, our favorite obsessions, I guess, and how we got into those things. Because I think we're all nerds and geeks on some level, but we all are into different things, and we probably all have different stories of how we got into those things. Right?
I think
Yeah.
you're correct, sir.
I mean, I would say many levels, though, of geek. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of fandoms. And when we were talking about our topic for tonight, and you're like, we're going to talk about fandoms, I'm like, okay, so is this podcast
Yeah.
episode going to be like 10 hours long? Because I could talk that long about my fandoms.
For sure.
Well,
Yeah.
we're live, so we can really go as long as we want. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know that Facebook or YouTube will shut us down. Probably not. I don't know.
They might. Who knows?
Because I always have the bedtime drink.
Oh, hey, the joys of
Do you have a bedtime drink? Is that okay?
she wants a bedtime drink. We have
All right.
we have juices that we keep on hand because one of our kids is diabetic, and the other kids all want to drink the juice boxes all the time. It's hard to tell them no, you can't. They don't like that answer. So,
Yeah.
and then she left the door open. Hold on.
It's all good.
Things are just falling apart under Jake's command over there.
I don't know what's happening. Normally we don't go live and everything goes smooth. We go live and I have no idea what I'm doing.
You even
So
have
that's fine.
this time.
What's that?
You even have a new backdrop this time.
That is what I call the dungeon, because it's unfinished. And yeah, normally I'm in my other office space. This is where I've moved for my work every day because it's got a door, and that sometimes keeps the kids out. As you can see, it's super effective.
Very.
Yeah.
I know. I'm in a slightly different place too. I'm in my living room because I decided I wanted to be on my couch. So I didn't want to go upstairs to my office.
You want to be comfy. You want to be comfy, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's totally fair. So, yeah, I'm with you, Marley, talking about the different things that I'm into and the different fandoms that I have. I could go on and on about them, and especially like if I start going in depth on any of them, then it's like, oh yeah, let me tell you all about this. And then people usually start getting bored, and they've got that like glazed over look, and I realize I've gone too far. But I'm not done, so I just keep going. You know what I mean? It's just easy to do. Not that we're going to count down our favorite 5 fandoms. That's a different podcast, not this show.
I don't think I could even like quantify it, you know? Like I don't
Yeah.
know, like cuz there's just so many. I mean, I definitely have some that I know more about and I've been more involved in. But
Yeah.
there's so many. It's hard to pick.
Yeah, I think I could break down into maybe a list of 20.
Yeah?
Wow.
Yeah?
So like you guys couldn't even just like your number one like pick like this is my number one top obsession fandom thing that I love more than anything else.
Number one would be Star Wars.
Okay, so your number one is Star Wars. What about you, Marley?
I mean, it's hard because like as much as I love Marvel, like especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Mhm.
I also like way before I was into Marvel movies, I was into the Lord of the Rings movies. So it's hard because like Lord of the Rings has been there longer for me and it's like kept up all this time. But like
Yep.
Marvel, I feel like Marvel is a little bit more of my recent obsession. But however, like Lord of the Rings is like, it's still relevant. Like it's still like you still see memes everywhere about it. Like you can mention it and most people know what you're talking about, or maybe a character from the show. Like they, most people, can reference it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to pick because they're also very different. Superheroes and fantasy, it's very different.
They are two very different genres, but that's the great thing, is that there are so many out there, and it's okay to have a diversity of things that you're into and that you like. I'm the same way. Like Lord of the Rings is probably my top as well. Just that story just means a lot to me, and the characters mean a lot to me. I think those are three of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And so I think that would probably be my number one, but I also really love superheroes, and I also really love Star Wars. So I think it is hard for me to pick my number one. So,
Yeah.
But Marley, how did you get into Lord of the Rings? What attracted you to that?
Well, the actors attracted me to that. Let's be real.
So like on a very physical like level, you were attracted to it.
I mean, I think okay, because I was pretty young when I watched the movies. I didn't originally see them in theaters. I saw them after, and like pretty soon after they came out on video or DVD, whatever. But like I remember just watching them, and I was like, oh my goodness, like Legolas is so cool, and he's so cute, and I love Orlando Bloom. Like because I was probably a preteen around that time, so I just thought a lot of them were cute. And then, of course, Aragorn, he was just like this, rugged babe. And just like, I just kind of like fell in love with the characters that way. But then, like, as the older I got and the more I watched the movies and got really into the story and just the whole fandom, I just like, I came to appreciate it more for what it is. And also, like, from its time, like, I mean, those are pretty high quality movies. They did a really good job. I mean, for goodness sakes, they got Best Picture of the Year each year that they came out.
They were nominated, I think, each year that they came out, but Return of the King, I think, was the only one that actually won the award.
Was it? I know they got like Best Direct, like
they always won awards.
Jackson.
Like they were always.
His name? What's the director's
Peter
name?
Jackson, director.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, Peter Jackson. Yeah.
They won a lot of awards.
And I think, and like with Return of the King, I think they gave the award to them like as a recognition for the series as a whole. Like you guys, like the whole thing. But I agree, the movies are fantastic. I was a smidge older than you when they came out. I was in high school. I remember I was graduated from high school when they announced that they were coming out. And hold on, I've got to put in the parental control passcode here for the Switch because obviously that's what I have to do right now.
Oh
I mean, you're doing a live show, Dad? Let me go ahead and come in. Hey, don't forget to close the door this time. So close. So close. But yeah, I remember when they announced that they were making them, I was working at a bookstore at the time. And so, of course, everybody in the bookstore was familiar with them, with the story and with the books. And they were starting to talk about the movies coming out and how great it was going to be. And there was really nothing in the fantasy genre that was like these movies prior to that were like, fantasy movies weren't necessarily taken super seriously or had the same high budget. I mean, there were some high budget ones out there, like Willow was pretty high budget, I think, for its time, but they were rare. And usually if it was a fantasy movie, it was just written off as like, whatever, just like fantasy novels are and everything else. But Lord of the Rings really changed that for the movies. And I mean, if Lord of the Rings hadn't been as successful as it was, if it wasn't as good as it was, we wouldn't have things like Game of Thrones and everything that's come after that that's fantasy based, where I think these production studios could look at it and say, look, there is money to be made there, and there's a fan base there. I love Aragorn is probably my favorite character. I love Samwise. Obviously, he's incredible. But Aragorn is just awesome. I've gotten my 8-year-old daughter into Lord of the Rings. Like, she will sit there and watch one of the movies, the whole thing, just sit and watch, and she loves it. And Aragorn is her favorite. Thor is also her favorite Avenger. So I think she's got a type, like kind of the rugged beard, long hair.
Yes.
But I asked her like one time, why is Aragorn your favorite? And her response was, because he's got skills. And he totally does.
Yeah.
Like, he's got great skills. So I do want to just throw this out here. Tyler Russell, who is one of the hosts on Multiplane Podcast, which is our newest podcast in the Stolen Droids Network, says, telling you Stolen Droids family trip to New Zealand. I'm on board.
Oh,
I'm
Colin,
there.
who do we talk to make that happen? A Stolen Droids
Really?
family trip to New Zealand.
I mean, as soon as we make money.
Yes.
All right. I like that Marley
Seriously.
found that to be an optimistic answer.
Right?
Really though, like
That would be
it's
so-
like one of my dream vacations to go to New Zealand, and all I want to do
Oh,
is
yeah.
just tour all the sites where they filmed the movies. Like that's all I want to do there.
I mean, that's what I did
Yeah.
when I was in Ireland. I checked
Oh,
out
yes.
all
Tell
the
us about your
sites
trip
that-
to Ireland.
Oh man, yeah. So we went. It coincidentally was like over my birthday weekend, but we went all across it. We went through a ton of different sites where they were doing where they had filmed The Last Jedi. There was one place I really wanted to go over to. I think it's Scully Island, where they
Okay.
where Ray finds Luke. It's an actual
Oh,
island over there, and they do boat tours. But we left the day after, or the day before they started doing those boat tours.
Because it's like seasonal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
That would
so
be
cool.
awesome.
was-
I didn't know that was filmed in Ireland.
yeah, a lot of those shots were, and they actually have like some of the original huts that they did them based off of over there. One of the original huts is actually by this like sheep farmer, and so he just has this like little sheep farm where people can pull in and like pet all the animals, and yeah, it was really cool. And we would just walk right behind their house, and right behind their house is just this little hut that Ray stood in or was
Oh,
staying.
wow.
Yeah, it was so cool.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome to go to some of the sites where these movies are actually filmed and kind of feel like you're part of that. New Zealand would be great because I know they've preserved a lot of the sets and the things that they built out there, and it would just be. Plus, New Zealand just looks beautiful and amazing.
Mhm.
So I'm on board, Tyler. We'll make it happen someday. When we start making money, we'll do it. Jeremy says, newest fandoms, Stranger Things and Game of Thrones. Older fandoms, anything 80s horror. I also love Lord of the Rings. I enjoy Stranger Things. I think that's
Mhm.
a fun show.
Did
I
they
guess 3 seasons in, you could call it a fandom. What's that, Colin?
end up starting production before the quarantine and finished?
I think so. All I know is that in the preview for the 4th season, right? We're coming up on season 4. We already know that Hop isn't dead,
That's right.
which like they could have hung on to that, like let it simmer a little bit more. But
No, we already knew he wasn't
We
dead.
all know who the American is.
I knew
Yeah.
he wasn't dead at the end of season 3. I knew he wasn't.
He's got too much of a dad bod for that. I mean, that's a rock hard dad bod.
Yeah.
well,
I was actually
Apparently-
just talking to my friend about Stranger Things. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, there's like, because I've seen all 3 seasons, of course, but I'm like, that went by so fast. There's already 3 seasons. Like,
Yeah,
because that show is so good. Very high quality
it
TV
is.
series, and it's so lovable and relatable, and yeah, it's very good.
I try not to think too much about season 3 because every time I do, I get the Neverending Story song stuck in my head because of the scene with Dustin and his girlfriend.
Yes.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Colin, what drew you to Star Wars when you say that's your number one? Like,
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I had a rough time because I have Tourette's and wasn't
mhm,
well accepted with a lot of other kids because it was a lot worse then. I had these random like tics where I would be like pounding my hand on my desk or like I still do this weird thing where like I twitch my arms or twitch my neck,
mhm,
um, and occasionally would like make little tiny noises. And so I was trying to find like an escape, right? And at the time, I had like a bunch of Star Wars games that I was playing, and really loved the films and found those as great escape. And eventually, I got into like kind of a text based RPG of Star Wars. Just a bunch of people online that were going back and forth. So me at the age of 12, I think I was on some random forums like dueling people in text-based RPG mode of different like random Star Wars stories. And I don't know, it was a fun escape to just kind of get out of the troubles of my life. And
yeah,
I really think that Star Wars helped me progress and get through a lot of those times where I would have otherwise just been completely depressed and would have,
yeah,
like so in some points like it's saved my life and it's also made me who I am today, uh looking up to Luke Skywalker and his progression and seeing all that and wanting to be a peaceful little Jedi.
mhm.
I think it's awesome to just like dive into like this whole new world and just kind of lose yourself in it and just really get to know the characters and their stories and just like care about it, you know? I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things about fandoms is that we care and we want these characters to be, you know, successful in whatever it is that they're doing and we're rooting for them and everything. And so it's just so nice to be able to, you know, just kind of like jump into that world and kind of just and be a part of it. I mean, I think that's essentially what I'm trying to say.
Mhm. No, I agree, and I think that's something that appeals to so many people in the nerd community or the geek community, and why we get so involved in these shows because it is that escape and it is that connection that we feel with these
Mhm.
characters, and it matters to us what happens to them in the story. It matters to us what happens next. And part of it is maybe we identify with them. Part of it is maybe that's how we escape. But it also, I think, unites us into something a little bit bigger than ourselves, and I think that matters as well. I know for me, growing up, my family was way into sports. My dad was way into sports, and so I was into sports. And I think being a geek is very similar to being a sports fan, and I think there's a lot more crossover there than people think about. But like, you go to a sporting event, you dress in those colors, you try to be part of the team and part of this whole group that's cheering them on, and that's really not a lot different than going to an Avengers movie or going to a Star Wars movie or along those lines, where you're with this group of people that appreciate the same thing you do, and they're rooting for the same heroes that you're rooting for, and they care about the story just like you do. So I think it means a lot, and I think that's a great story, Colin, to hear how that helped you as you were younger to get into Star Wars and be a part of that, and how much that mattered to you. I do think you need to explain to some people what a text-based RPG is, because I don't know that people really understand how text-based RPG probably was at the time.
It was
Because
very, very text based, like to a point where it's literally just like a forum. Like basically, you have like we had these different threads and topics where it was kind of categorized where there were all these different planets that you can go to, and so each planet had its own forum section, and then you would go into that section and create your own section and talk about what 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 other people were going to be in there with you, and you would kind of coordinate through messages. And then you would literally just type out every little action that you're doing. I'm approaching this individual and asking him this question, things like that, or describing like the day and it's stormy, blah blah blah, and creating all these math things. Like I wish they were still online, because I would love to just take sections of those and like turn it into a book.
Oh yeah,
that'd be way cool.
It's all writing, it's all storytelling, and it's fun to do it with a group because it's collective storytelling. I think it's one of the reasons that things like Dungeons and Dragons has endured as long as it has, because it is that opportunity to be part of a story together and tell a story together, and that's just really cool. For me, one of the fandoms that I've always been into is comics, and that for me came along at a time when I really needed it. My parents had just divorced, and so I was adjusting to my new normal and getting used to that. And I had a friend who lived across the street from where we were living, and he was into comics, and we used to go every Saturday up to this store that was close by called Coins and Collectibles. It's not around anymore, so I can say the name because it's not plugging anything, but it was in Taylorsville, Utah, and we would go there, and they sold, among other things, comic books. Obviously, they sold coins and other collectibles, but at the time, they really kind of bought into the whole comic book. They had comics and cards and superhero stuff, and we would go every weekend and pick up whatever issues we were wanting. They had a big, what they called a bid board, where they would put different like collectible cards up on the board, or even issues of comics, and then people would bid on them, like how much they would pay for that particular card or issue, and whoever bid the most at the end of the week got it, and they would call you and say, hey, you won the bid, and you'd have to go pay for it. It was like eBay before we had eBay. And so I remember doing that a lot, but for me, that was, at that particular time, escape was definitely what I needed, because my whole world had come kind of crashing down on me, and everything was changed, and it was a whole new normal for me. And being able to go and join the adventures of like the X-Men and Superman meant a lot to me. And in fact, the main story that was going on the year that it happened was the death of Superman. And so being able to be involved with that and see how the world was involved with that, like whenever I think of that story, even aside from him being my favorite character, that always ties to that time of my life and how much I needed something to just get completely involved in. And that was what it was for me. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
It's so fantastic to be able to have, these things get so involved in, and to just be able to get an escape or something to just help us cope through those times. Especially when, a lot of the storylines too that you read through, sometimes are modern day, like going through a divorce or whatever it may be. There's so many situations that come through those that that information can help you cope and not feel like you're alone. We don't necessarily, know at that age to, talk to other people. You're still pulling things up inside and looking for some way to release.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think too, it's a great way to connect with people and to connect with friends, that like existing friends, and to make new friends. I know for me, like a lot of the TV shows that I watch, because I'm into a huge variety of shows because there's
Mhm.
so many good ones out there. And I have like different friends that like I'll watch, like for instance, like Breaking Bad. That is one of my favorite TV shows, but not all of my friends watch that. So like I know who I can
Right.
go talk to about Breaking Bad. And then on the other hand, like another one of my favorite TV shows is Vampire Diaries. And so like I know who I can go and talk to about that. And so it's nice to be able to have like um different things that I can connect with like my different friends with and be able
Mhm.
to, and just kind of, especially as shows are like if they're releasing like an episode a week or whatever and you're just like, oh, did you watch the new episode? Yeah, I did. Oh my goodness, and it's just so fun to just kind of like just theorize about the episode
Mhm.
and just like talk about your favorite characters, what you hate, what you like, all these different, just I mean it's a great way to like I said, just connect with people. And even like one of my favorite things too is like when you meet somebody new and when they say like the magic words, like some sort of
Yeah.
fandom that you're into too, and you're like, oh my gosh, I am going to become best friends with this person because we're both into, XYZ or whatever. And it's so fun to just like get really excited about that and have a new person to talk about all your favorite little things about said fandom with. Like I just,
Mhm.
for me, because I'm a very social person. I like finding ways to connect with people and also be able to just kind of have that variety in my life as well. But yeah, and just I think the other biggest thing too is just falling in love with characters and getting to be a part of their story,
Mhm.
as well as like I often go back and rewatch some of my favorite shows and
Yeah.
relive those moments again. Even if
Yeah.
it's like a sad show, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cry. I know I will, but I'm gonna do it because I want to. And I love these characters and I love this story so much. So I'm going to put myself through this.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely part of it. I mean, sometimes you want to feel a certain feeling, whether that's sad or happy or whatever, and for whatever reason, and having these kind of friends, these characters that you're into and these stories that you know so well, which ones you can go revisit and feel what you want to feel. And I think that's awesome. Erica Startup mentioned conventions, um, uh, and it's a fantastic place to make friends. Let me just say, like, I would say that going to pop culture conventions is probably one of my favorite things to do. And I might even consider that one of my fandoms. And I am not a crowd person. I don't like big crowds. I don't like to be just like in a big group of people and feel like
Mhm.
there's no space. I'm always uncomfortable in those situations, but I love going to conventions and I've met so many people through the convention scene, including my whole Stolen Droids family I've met
Yeah.
through doing conventions and stuff like that, because you are meeting people that have similar interests to you. I mean, even if they may not be into the same shows that you're into, just the fact that they're at that convention, you're like, I know this person is passionate about something on the same level that I am, and we can
Mhm.
relate on some level. And I think that that's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
funny because Erica Startup, who made that comment, I'm friends with her and we met at a convention. Ha.
Yeah. And you guys did a panel, I think, at the last FanX, Gaming for
Yeah.
Noobs. Yeah.
Uh-huh, we did. Yeah,
We
she's
are Red
awesome.
Dead buddies.
Oh
What's that,
yes,
Colin?
we are Red Dead buddies.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Earlier, uh, Tyler mentioned the Wizarding World. Harry Potter is one of the fandoms that I um, have gotten into. When the books were coming out, when the fourth book was coming out, it was the same bookstore that I worked at after high school. and everybody was like, you've got to read the Harry Potter books. And for me, I felt like, no, I had like outgrown them at that point because I was out of high school and I thought they were more kids books. And I think the first three definitely size wise and look, they felt more like kids books. So I was like, I'm not interested in Harry Potter at all. And they're like, no, you just got to pick up the first one, read it, and just try it. And so I did, and I was hooked. And I loved Harry Potter. But what that fandom for me has been even more important in my life is with my wife, because when she and I got married, she wasn't into anything nerdy. She wasn't into anything geeky. Fantasy was like, in school, her class had the assignment to read Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and she told her teacher like straight up, I'm not going to read it because it's ridiculous. You don't go into a closet and come out on the other side into Narnia. Like that was just, that's who my wife is. Like she's a very practical person and I love her. But Harry Potter was, I said, you just got to try these books. And that was kind of the first kind of fantasy book that she read. And she got so into it that as the seventh book came out, we were having a fight over who was going to get to read it first, her or me. And we ended up having, I think, to buy 2 copies so that we could both read it at the same time. But like,
Awesome.
so for us, that's kind of our fandom that we've gotten into as a couple. And so for that reason, it's meant a lot to me. So Harry Potter will always have a special place in my heart, just for that reason.
And you guys recently constructed one of the Hogwarts castles together, right?
We did the clock tower for the Lego clock tower set. And then we found out that like you can also connect like the Great Hall and it like connects to the clock tower. And then there's like another piece. It's got like the Whomping Willow or something. So now we've got to find those sets so that we can connect the whole Hogwarts castle.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Are you into Harry Potter at all, Colin?
Oh, I love Harry Potter.
Yeah. I do too. I'm not like too like crazy into it, but like I know generally enough that I can like talk about it with people and know what they're talking about too. I mean, and of course, most importantly, I know which house I'm in and all that. So, you know.
Yeah.
You're Hufflepuff for life.
You're a Hufflepuff, Colin?
Hufflepuff.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I would definitely see you as a Hufflepuff, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with a Hufflepuff.
Are you a Ravenclaw, Jake?
I am a Ravenclaw.
I knew it.
Oh, no.
My daughter is a Hufflepuff, Colin, and she is like Hufflepuff, like ride or die Hufflepuff. Like she is like in it to win it with Hufflepuff. We did at work. We got one of our managers to do the test, and he knows nothing about Harry Potter, but his wife is way into Harry Potter. And so he did the test and he ended up in the Hufflepuff house, and he called his wife and he's like, yeah, I guess I got Hufflepuff. And she's like, oh, really? And like, she was so disappointed. And he was like, so is Hufflepuff bad? I'm like, it's not bad. No, it's fine. He's like, my wife sounded like she was going to divorce me. So I'm like, no, it's fine. You'll be fine. But Hufflepuff is you need Hufflepuffs.
You do.
You. And they're just, like I said before, they're well unrepresented.
Yeah. Erica started up Hufflepuff for life.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You and Erica are good friends there.
I am like zero Hufflepuff. Sorry, guys. I am full on Slytherin.
Yeah,
I
can see that.
With a little bit of Gryffindor. So I'm a Slytherdor.
A Slytherdor?
Is that do they do mix houses?
Yeah, why not?
Listen, the fandom has been around for so long now and has grown so much that of course they do. Like you can take a quiz to find out which one you are. I know I did one that was like 50 questions long and it came back as like Ravenpuff, and my wife was like, nope, you did something wrong. You need to go take it again. So
yes.
Potter Scholar for life.
Potter Scholar.
I don't know what Potter Scholar is.
Yeah.
Is it just the?
He's saying he's a Potter Scholar for life. Like he's in to Harry Potter.
I thought he was referencing a website like Pottermore. But no, okay, I get it. I get it too. Team Slytherin, yay!
Team Slytherin.
Oh, Erica thought that you were a Ravenclaw.
Girl, she doesn't know me.
You don't know me, girl. You don't know me at all.
Wow.
We've also got another Ravenclaw in the comments.
Nice. Josh is a Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Harry Potter's great. I do like Harry Potter. Though you guys, a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but I didn't ever finish reading the books, and I really enjoy the movies. So there.
Yeah, I've never read the books besides elementary school when our teacher would read them to us, and that's about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Obviously, it's fine. I'm not going to say it's not fine. I don't want to be like, yeah, I think that's fine. We'll allow it. No, it's totally fine. And that's, I think, one of the hard things though with fandoms is because we own these things so much in our hearts and like we become so passionate about them. Like we feel like it's okay to like set these rules for other people. Like, oh, well, if you're a true Harry Potter fan, then you're going to read all 7 books. And you're going to hate the movies. Or if you're a true Star Wars fan, you have to shun whichever movie they decide you have to shun, because there are so many different Star Wars fans that will tell you which one you can't like. But the reality is, like, enjoy your fandom the way you want to enjoy it. So if you like the movies instead of the books, that's totally fine. I love Lord of the Rings, 3 of my favorite movies, and I love the books. The books are incredible.
Mhm.
But I can understand someone being like, the books are long and hard, because they are long and hard.
I tried all 3 of them. They were tough.
They are. And it's because they were written at a different time, and it was just different back then. Writing now is much more cinematic and it's paced differently and everything. So if you like the movies instead of the books, I think that's fine, as long as you're into it. And there's enough commonalities that I think it works.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, even the same goes for like superhero movies and stuff. Like, there's a lot of people out there who haven't even read the comic books, but they really enjoy the movies, or vice versa, or both. Because
yeah,
I think some things it's nice. It's kind of fun to be able to. I mean, it's nice to be able to like read the thing, whatever it is, and then watch the movie and just be like, oh wow, they actually did a really good job, capturing this story. And I mean, of course, there's a lot out there, and this is sometimes where I get to be a little bit of a book snob, and that the book is better than the movie, kind of thing. And there are definitely examples of that, but there are also really good examples of TV shows and movies that are a great adaptation of whatever written material it is. There's a lot. And sometimes you just have to realize too, they're two different things. Like, they're going to be different, and you just got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, I mean, the comics especially, like, people do that with the MCU all the time. Are you a real Marvel fan, or are you a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan? Like, okay, let me just make a comment here on Josh 12's comment about Jim Dale does a great job. He does do a really good job for the Harry Potter books on CD. If you can find the audio recording, though, of Stephen Fry reading the Harry Potter books, it's much, much better. In my opinion, Josh, I'm just in my opinion. But if you love Jim Dale, like, that's fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Now,
too, what con is it? I think it's the Wizarding Day or Wizarding World.
Wizarding Days.
Leaky? Are you talking about Leaky Con?
I think it's Wizard World that's doing it right now, where the celebrities are reading the book.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, like, the first chapter, Daniel Radcliffe read. I haven't followed it since, but yeah, they're having him go through and read all that, which I think is.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's very fun.
Erica says that she hates those types of fans. They are horrible and toxic. If you're a fan, you're a fan, and you'll be accepted for it. And I agree 100%. And we see it so much, the toxic fandom that's out there, like people that feel like they've got to rain on your parade for whatever reason. Star Wars has been hit really hard in the last few years by it. Star Trek has always struggled with it. I don't care what anybody says. Star Trek struggles with it. Even Lord of the Rings, there are people out there who's like, oh, if you like the movies instead of the books, you're not a real Tolkien fan and whatever. And just let it go, man. If people are into what you're into, that's exciting and that's great. Like, I loved comics as a kid, and I love that the MCU movies are so popular right now. You know why? Because they keep making more superhero movies that I never thought we would see made. I never thought we'd see a Thor movie. I never thought Iron Man would be a major player in anything because he was kind of not cool in the 90s when I was reading comics. Captain America, like, it's just amazing that we're seeing these movies right now. And so it's exciting that people are latching onto it and that it's a whole new group of fans. Like, it's great because that means they're going to make more content like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and two, like it's difficult when things become, pop culture now, right? Where everything's so mainstream, because we've gone through and we've traded things off to where, you were made fun of in school for liking these geeky things, to now it's the other side where they're making fun of people because they don't know all the things, because they haven't read the books, but they've just watched the movies, or haven't read the comics and just watched the movies. And so those people get, offended. And then you've got people who then completely judge you because you go through and you like these certain types of video games. Or I had one friend who at a convention dressed up just like Link, and someone was dead certain that she was dressed up just like Zelda, and was her that she was so wrong. And she's just like, no, like, obviously I'm Link. And like, the person didn't even really know the video game franchise other than the game was called Zelda.
But that's okay though. Like, we all have to start somewhere, right? And so if we're welcoming to these people and it's like, hey, yeah, come on in. You may not know all there is to know about this, but come on in anyway. And they'll get there. And it's just, you're broadening your tribe, you're making your group bigger. I think it's a great thing. I got into Doctor Who just a few years ago. I mean, probably less than 10 years ago. And I remember that being one of the big struggles because I only knew the new Doctor Who. I only knew, like, from Christopher Eccleston up through David Tennant and Matt Smith. And I still haven't gone back and like familiarized myself with a lot of the old doctors from like the 60s and the 70s. And there are so many people in the Doctor Who fandom who are like, no, if you don't know classic Who, you're not a real Whovian. Why? Like, your show is now on the air and it is at a much broader audience, and worldwide it's a huge hit. Yeah. Not because of Tom Baker, who is a fantastic doctor. I'm not saying anything against Tom Baker, but because of these guys like Matt Smith and David Tennant, and as it's gotten bigger and more popular. And so, like, I don't know. It's a weird thing to me. We used to not be able to sit at the cool kids table, and now we think we run the cool kids table and we're excluding other people, and gatekeeping. It's a real problem. If you guys can hear screeching in the background, I'm sorry. One of my daughters is having a really rough night tonight, so I apologize right now.
She didn't get the juice, did she?
What'd you say, Colin?
She didn't get the apple juice, did she?
Oh.
I don't know what's going on, honestly.
Or she had too much apple juice.
that could be it too. That could be it too.
Sugar train.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too that, like, especially like here in Utah, like our pop culture, like, fan and geek conventions and stuff, like, because they've been around now for a little while, that they've also become quite the norm. That, like, when I'm talking to people, friends or potential new friends or whoever, if I like find out that they haven't been, I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I have to kind of be like, okay, calm down. Not everybody is as crazy as you are. But then I try to, like, tell people about it and be like, this is why I love it. This is why I've gone every single time it's been here. And, and this is what I love about it. And, oh, here's some, like, little tips and tricks. Just like different things. Like, I think it's important to, especially if you find that if you are one of those maybe arrogant people, know-it-all people, whatever you want to call it, like, maybe just like take a step back and be like, okay, wait, I don't need to be rude. I don't need to be snotty. Let me instead share what I know and also like, you know, show that passion that you have for whatever it is, whether it's going to these pop culture conventions or just getting into a new TV show or a new movie or something. You know, I think just like share why you love it, you know, and people will, you know, respond. And you know, and if they're not into it, or maybe it's just not the right time, because I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten plenty of recommendations from people, and I'm just like, well, I'm not in the mood for a fantasy TV show right now, but I am in the mood for a drama, you know. So like, it just kind of depends.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to just like be patient with people, and you know, still give recommendations, because I think it's important to share the things that you love. So yeah.
Yeah, and these are all things like we talked about earlier that have meant a lot to us. And we don't know what point somebody is in their lives where they might need something like this is going to mean a lot to them and matter a lot to them. And if their first experience with that is going to be, you know, being shut out, then we don't want that to happen. So, well, I think this has been fun. I enjoy doing this live. We're going to have to do more of this. It's been fun to see the comments from people. It's been fun to answer their questions. We'll hope
Definitely.
that next time everybody's having a better night at the Dietz house. But it'll be fine. I should probably go make sure everybody's still alive. They're fine. I promise they're fine. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in. This will be up on our YouTube site. Of course, it's up here on Facebook. You can also find the audio for this in our podcast here coming shortly. And to do more of these live shows, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us here on Facebook so that you know exactly when we're going live. We will advertise it a little bit more. This is kind of a surprise for everybody. We like to do that. Like, it's like a surprise birthday party, but we also think you guys might like to know in advance. So we'll try to do something like that in the future. But really, it's great. And especially with the participation that we've had with the folks on the comments today. We appreciate it. If you have feedback for the show, we've got an email address. Colin, I can't remember what it is. What is that email address?
Your feedback at soulandroids.com.
Nice. There it is. Feedback at soulandroids.com. Like I said, follow us in all the places so you never miss this. We are basically like a pop culture convention for your pocket right here.
Yay.
So join us on Soul and Droids podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Wow, jazz hands.